And let's go ahead and get started. So today's presentation is about clean eating. We are going to go over the different macronutrients and what those mean, what clean eating is, the different types of popular diets that's going around today, and weight loss programs, and some meal prep ideas which all feed into clean eating or help make clean eating easier, and some recipes. So what is clean eating? Clean eating is a diet concept where a person avoids refined and processed foods and those that have artificial ingredients such as preservatives, additives. Instead, the goal is to eat whole natural foods. So one of my nutrition professors in college, she said, what does it mean when we say whole foods? Really what it means is there's one ingredient and doesn't even need a label. You don't see an ingredient label on an apple or an orange. It's just one thing. It's an apple or an orange. So really that's a concept with whole foods, is it means eating them in their natural state with nothing added to it. It's important to note that this is a diet concept. It's not a certain type of diet. So different types of diets you can still eat clean, and different types of diets you can also not eat clean. So something to keep in mind that there's a lot of flexibility. It's not strict black and white. There's a lot of different clean eating principles. What we just talked about, eat more real foods. So that includes fruits and vegetables, and limiting processed foods as well. And eating for nourishment. So this is going to focus on a balance and variety of macronutrients, vitamins, minerals. It's going to limit added sugars that you would find in processed foods anyway. And eating more plant-based foods. So a clean diet, again, what is whole foods, right? Just one ingredient. So focusing on a diet that's rich in plant-based foods. Even if you are a meat eater, I am a meat eater myself, but that doesn't mean that you can't always add more fruits and vegetables into your diet. So let's go over the 3 sources of fuel that our body uses. The first one is carbohydrates. Everyone's favorite, maybe your friend and your foe. So in our body, we turn carbohydrates into glucose, and this is our primary fuel for our body, but it's also needed for our brain to function. So maybe you fast or you're a little low on, you do a low carb diet, you feel a little fuzzy. That's why. There are 4 calories per 1 gram of carbohydrate. Our body is able to store 350 grams of carbs at a time, and that's about 1,400 calories of carbohydrates. So just picture, we're not eating carbohydrates all day long. We still have energy. We go for a run. Some people run marathons even, or go for long hikes, and they still have that energy source. So we do store it in our body. And it's also important to note that 1 gram of carbs equal about the conversion of 3 grams of water, which is awesome because it keeps our body hydrated. But if you've ever gone on a low carb diet, that's why you usually lose weight right away really quick, because those carbs aren't holding on to water anymore. And that's why they say you lose water weight instead of weight or fat loss. So that's a fun fact to keep in mind. Our next one is fats. So fats are really good for growth and development when you're young. So if you have kids, fat is really good. That's usually why kids have whole milk or 2% milk. It also cushions our organs. That's why we have fat. It's good, protects our rib cage, our kidneys, and all of that good stuff that keeps us alive. And the fatty acids in fats obviously help with metabolism and cell function. We can store fat in unlimited amount of stores, I'm sure you know, in fat cells that we see on our body. And there's about 9 calories per 1 gram of fat. So that's what we would call calorically dense. So there's a lot of calories per just 1 gram. Our next one is protein. So protein builds and repairs cells and tissues. It helps with enzyme and hormone production. It helps us with fluid balance, among other things. There is also 4 calories per 1 gram of protein, and we don't store protein like we do fat and carbs. So we can't just take protein from places, or we don't store it anywhere in that sense that we would the other 2 macronutrients. A lot of people always ask how much protein that you should take in, and that's really going to depend. That's a tough one to answer just because it is more ambiguous, because it's going to vary on your age, on your gender, your activity level. If you have health concerns, if you have kidney disease, you want to take in a lot less protein. Sometimes you want to be taking in more if you're injured, for example, and your goals. So just generally speaking, to give you an idea of where you should be or maybe where you'd want to be, the DRA is 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. So that's important to notice. You know, we're America, everything's in pounds, everywhere else it's kilograms. That's about 0.36 grams per pound if you're a sedentary adult. If you want to lose weight or you want to gain muscle, if you're exercising, even if you're lightly active, you're going to definitely want to take in more than that. So recreational athlete, this is a stat coming from a registered dietitian, Christopher Moore. He says recreational athlete, or the weekend warriors, so to say, is 1.4 grams per kilogram of body weight, or about 0.62 pounds. So that's general. If you need help finding out actually how much protein you should be taking in, I highly recommend talking to a registered dietitian. They are board certified professionals that can help you. That's going to be the theme throughout the day. If you have some of those questions that are really specific about your macronutrients in general, definitely please reach out to a registered dietitian. They're going to know more and be able to apply it individually. Another macronutrient is alcohol, which we won't talk about today because we talk about that all day if you're a Molson Coors employee, I'm sure, but it's there. There are 3 forms of carbs. We have fiber, that's found only in plant foods, has many health benefits, and it goes undigested through the body. We have sugar, that's going to be lactose, so people lactose intolerant, they can't handle the sugar in milk. And then there's fructose, and there's also added sugars. Starches, we all love those, beans, grains, that could be corn, potatoes, beans, the types. And there are 4 different types of fats as well. So most are combinations of all 4, but they're classified by the abundance. So mono and polyunsaturated fats, those are going to lower our low density lipid cholesterol. So LDL cholesterol is what we call our bad cholesterol. So it's going to lower that, and it's going to raise our HDL cholesterol. HDL is the good, H for healthy is a good way to remember it. So polysaturated, those are going to be seeds, nuts, fatty fish like salmon. Monosaturated are going to be oils like olive oil that are liquid at room temperature. And then saturated fats actually raise LDL cholesterol. So the USDA recommends that we limit that to 10% of our daily caloric intake. And that's going to be around 22 grams if you're doing a 2,000 calorie diet, which is the general standard. And these are solid at room temperature. So if you ever cook with coconut oil, it's solid at room temperature. And that also includes butter, whole milk, 2% milk, and regular cheeses like cheddar cheese. Trans fats can lead to heart disease, and they're in packaged and processed foods. So really trying to eliminate those as much you can. But any way that you're eating clean and you're focusing on whole foods, you're going to eliminate a lot of the saturated and trans fats anyway. And this is out of order, but we have nutrient-rich protein sources. We have beans and peas, that also includes lentils. We have eggs, fish, lean meats, chicken, low-fat milk. Just remember, no added sugar. So make sure you're reading that label and seeing. Usually if it's a delicious one and there's chocolate and fruit in it, there's probably a lot of sugar. So just look and see what they're adding to the ingredient label. Nuts, nut butters, and seeds, also important to point out that there is protein in these, but this is actually a source of fat primarily. So keep that in mind. I love peanut butter myself. Don't use that as your main protein source. And grains. All right, let's hop back. recommended amounts of micronutrients. So limiting added sugars is going to be a big one. So the USDA says 10% of our daily calories. That's still a little high according to the American Heart Association. They actually recommend about 24 grams for women and just a little bit higher, around 30 for men. And added sugars hide under a lot of different names like honey, syrups, so that's maple syrup, high fructose corn syrup, and molasses. Again, try and keep it to about 25 grams a day. If you look at the back of your labels, like your coffee creamer even, it's really hiding in a lot of places. So you'll have to be cognizant about limiting those. And sodium. So sodium, we do need sodium. It is an essential electrolyte. If you're running, if you're biking, it's getting warmer outside, it is something that you need, but there is a limit to it. So around 2,000 milligrams is going to be the limit that they recommend. The average for men is over 4,000 milligrams, and the average for females is about 3,000. So us as Americans are definitely taking in more sodium than we need to. And we take in sodium through table salt. So we need it, but we don't need that much of it. In eating fiber, we all should know this, about 25 to 30 grams per day, again, similar to added sugars. That helps you remember, that's going to come from fruits and vegetables. The average American only gets 15 grams a day. And what's exciting about all of this, though, is that we can hit these recommended amounts when we limit our packaged and processed food intake. We control our meals by cooking at home more, and we focus on whole foods. And that's what clean eating is truly all about. And if you need to know more protein sources. Moving on to popular diets. I get this question a lot. I'm sure my good friends Justin and Joe do as well. What's the best diet for me to be on? I was on keto, I was paleo, what does it all mean? So here's a fun little Venn diagram. Here are 3 diets that I get asked personally the most questions about, so I thought it'd be worth it to include. So keto, here we have that you're limiting carbohydrates. It's not just a low carb diet. Carbs are about 5% of your daily intake. So for example, that's going to be around 30 to 50-ish grams of carbohydrates a day. So one banana, for reference, is 27 grams. So it's really low in carbohydrates. When you go into ketosis, what it's called is that's when we use fat as essential fuel for our body instead of carbohydrates. Because fiber does go undigested, as we spoke about before, we only count the net carbs. This is one where people like to do keto because they're like, oh my gosh, I can eat steak and bacon and cheese, and that sounds great. So just keep in mind that, like I said before, clean eating is a concept. It's not a diet. So there's something called dirty keto, and there can be clean keto. If you are doing clean eating and you're doing keto, you're still eating leafy greens. So it's a lot of salads. You're still eating nuts, olive oil, healthy fats, and obviously quality meats. Paleo is not a low carb diet. Again, it just depends on what you eat, but they limit certain fruits, no legumes. That's peanuts would be a legume, or beans. There's no dairy, so that's a difference from keto. And they only include low glycemic index added sugars. Keto does no sugars. So for example, in paleo, they would include maple syrup is a big one, but they don't use any honey. So those are the differences. Intermittent fasting, not a diet, which is good for a lot of people to know. It is not at all a diet. It's not meant to lose weight. You're not trying to restrict your calories. It should, by no means should you be starving yourself in intermittent fasting. It's really just eating within a certain window, and that could be 12 hours or 14 hours or 16 hours, which is more of the basic ones. And those are focusing on health reasons, not necessarily because you're restricting your calories. You should still be eating the same amount of calories in your eating window. So not a diet, just a concept. So all three of these, they don't really focus or want you to focus on counting calories. Paleo and keto, those are lifestyle diets where you eat certain foods. So all of these are going to be up to preference. I'm not going to say one is better than the other. It's all individual. What works for you, what's going to be attainable for you, what works in your lifestyle. You know, if you don't eat dairy, keto is not going to work for you. If you love peanuts, paleo is probably not going to work. Intermittent fasting, if you have a very high energy work or you're working for long periods of time, like 12 hours and it's active, that's probably not going to do it for you because it's going to be a little tough for your body. If you eat clean, it's all going to be okay. So again, like I said before, you can always work with a registered dietitian and they'll help you. So just in summary, clean eating is not diet culture, it's a concept. So we want to eat to feel good, not because you want to lose weight. And in general, that should always be your goal. You should want to feel good. You should sleep better. You should feel better. It shouldn't be just about how you look or losing weight unless it is for health concerns. So find a pattern of eating and foods that support your overall health, lifestyle, and wellness. So again, those are some examples. Always consult a board certified registered dietitian. They're going to help you with meal plans, macronutrients, or if you're having any gastrointestinal issues. So there's a lot who have online consultations. One of them is eatright.org, find-and-expert. So they'll help you find some in the area who have online platforms. So that's always a good start. So Newman Weight Watchers, they're food management or food tracking websites. So that's going to help with personal nutrition health questionnaire, healthy habits questionnaire, and then it's going to give you a recommended eating plan or foods to eat that are based on a goal. So popular is going to be Weight Watchers, obviously has points. Everyone knows that. Noom has more of a color system like red, green, for example. The pros for this is that it is an online community and there's a lot of one-on-one coaching and accountability, which is really helpful. They help you, and then they help you once you lose the weight, continue to maintain it. And they do so without counting calories, which I think is cool personally. They do it by, again, clean eating is eating certain foods that are minimally processed. The cons for these is that the coaches are not required to have a degree or certification, and it costs money. So Noom and WW completely, they work. A lot of people have success stories, but just keep that in mind as they're going to give you a general overview. And you still have to have a lot of diligence in changing your nutrition habits. It's not going to change your nutrition habits for you. You do have to be diligent. So like always, we do recommend reaching out to a registered dietitian. If money is an issue, I would just compare all of the different services and see what works best in your budget. And you can always reach out to us at the Wellness Center for a nutrition consultation. We can kind of help you, point you in the right direction as well, or help you go over the programs. So percentage of food budgets in the US spent foods away from home. 54% are eaten away. So that's food when we go out to eat, which is crazy. So meal prepping can really help with clean eating goals since you do it in advance. So that could be weekly. You plan all your entire week out. You can do several days, maybe just 2 days at a time, or just the night before. That all counts for meal prep. It doesn't have to be what you see on social media where everyone is, planning out their entire week. It doesn't have to be anything like that, but it's going to ensure portion control, ensure enough macronutrients. It's going to be easier to maintain, added sugar, saturated fats, all those things we talked about before. And it's going to save money long-term, which is awesome. I know I like that benefit. It helps to plan, always plan. So find recipes before you go shopping. You don't have a crock pot, definitely recommend investing in it. Same thing with Tupperware. Definitely want to invest in there. I like the glass options as well. And then macro and calorie counting is not required to meal prep. You don't have to do it. You can just meal prep and that would be okay. So It could be easy as that to just be more successful in eating clean. So tips for prepping is that you can buy items that are versatile to mix and match into different meals. That's gonna be like frozen fruits, vegetables, canned foods. Buy a variety every week just for overall health. Use different cooking methods. So you always cook your chicken, maybe try shredding it or using the grill. And then as soon as you get your groceries or as soon as you do your prep, pre-cut and pre-cook all your foods. So if you're doing daily prep, it's just easy to toss in here and there. So you can see the picture, it's all pre-cut and pre-cook. And then some prepping basics. Just keep it simple. Start with a protein and then add vegetables or fruit. Then finish with a carb. So think like rice, for example, would be a carb or a starch. And then top with a fat. So olive oil on a salad or adding nuts or avocado. So some meal prep recipe ideas. Breakfast burritos, you can make in advance, wrap in tinfoil and throw it in your freezer. That can even be meatless as well if you're vegan or vegetarian. A carnitas burrito bowl, super easy, versatile ingredients that you can use anywhere and mix and match and use in a different recipe. And then this one, the Greek snack pack, is also a good balance of macronutrients. So for more information, here's a bunch of different sites that have meal prep options and recipes. And then on our blog, the Bill Coors Wellness Center.wordpress.com, recent blog post was Wellness Wednesday yesterday, and I posted several different, you can see recipes in there. So check that out if you want more. Otherwise, I'm sorry for that break, but that's all I have for you today.